Bussey, Mike Seifert, and Grant Chancellor Madison with the 180 Firearms Training Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about how after a match to unfunk yourself. Mike, you want to talk about our sponsor a little bit?
Yeah, no. So if you guys are in the market for a PCC, our new sponsor, DaVinci Machining, it's the most reliable PCC on the market, the DG9. Check them out. Yeah, give them a call. Thank you.
All right, so unfunk yourself. After you set your expectations for a match, how you want to perform, and maybe those expectations don't get met, it's easy to spiral downward into a funk because shooters typically are really, really good at holding themselves accountable, almost too much. And it can be pretty upsetting, depressing. You're just embarrassed, disappointed. So how do you deal with that? How do you move forward? So
I'd like to start on that. I mean, how do you move forward? I mean, look, you hold yourself accountable. You should have expectations going into the match, but I mean, it doesn't always work out the way you want. I mean, sometimes I feel like when I first started, you kind of live and die by your last match. But I'm starting to get to the point where a match is just a match, and it doesn't mean necessarily that your shooting game is terrible if you had a bad day or a bad couple days in my case. So it's something, it's more or less what your expectations are going in. And then, you know, I feel like you don't win as much as you lose. So if you get used to it, you know, in a way, like, I don't know, like, I feel like I'm not super depressed about things when they go wrong. I mean, maybe right after the match is over, I might be a little bit depressed about if I look at the scores or something like that, and I see that I didn't do as well as I wanted to, but I always just tell myself that I've done well at other matches before. And I know that, you know, sometimes you just have an off day. So you kind of just got to tell yourself that it is what it is. And don't, you know, if you know you're a better shooter than what you performed at the match. I mean, I feel like a lot of it is an ego thing too, where you might, you might think people think differently of you, but if you got to be confident in your own game and say that it doesn't really matter what other people think. And, you know, you just kind of,
I think a big part of that too is the self-doubt, the questioning of your own abilities that happens after a lack of success in your eyes. So when you start questioning your abilities, the best thing you can do is look back to where you started. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've been able to do consistently rather than just a bad match here and there. How far have you come in the last year? Right.
And that's where if you take match videos, you can really see that, you know, like you see your progression. I actually was before we started this podcast, I was watching my YouTube of the first videos I posted from Area 8 a couple of years ago, and I'm much better now than I was then. And, you know, you gotta kind of stay positive, because if you get too down on yourself, then it's going to be, you know, it's going to be hard for you to kind of break out of that after a bad match. Whereas you want to kind of turn your bad match into well, what can I do better and what can I work on and make it a positive versus just being depressed about it. So yeah. What do you think, Grant?
Well, it's always this learning thing, I guess. Yeah, you do need to find all the positives, even how minor they may be. You know, just gotta keep your chin up. Don't on the way home from the match, don't think I'm going to drive head first into this truck because it was such a bad match. Don't do that. You know, basically, I'd need to just echo what you guys said.
Well, like, does your after your match have to do with anything with how you set your expectations before the match? Like, if you you know, if you tell yourself you're going to win it and then you don't win it, are you depressed, or do you try to set realistic expectations for yourself, or like, what is?
Oh, of course, you want to win every match, don't you? Like,
we're all competitors.
If you're not there to win, why are you there?
I agree with that.
So if you don't meet your expectations, I mean, like, your expectation is to win. So if you don't get there, then okay, how do I get there?
Right. Well, I mean, so if you just started shooting, let's say you just started shooting carry optics or something like that, and you went to carry optics nationals, would you expect to win carry optics nationals, or would you try to set that bar a little bit lower for yourself? Yeah. All right. So like this year for me, my goal with PCC nationals was to make a top 10, and now I definitely did not achieve that. But I wasn't telling myself I was going to shoot for first necessarily. I was just, because to me a top 10 was going to be progress from last year. And so like, I'm always looking to get better and to, you know, see if I can get higher and higher every year. But obviously I did not make it, but I didn't tell myself I was going in there to win, because to me, that would put too much pressure on myself.
Well, Mike, you have to
You're
keep
also
in mind too that the pool of shooters in America is a little bit different than in South Africa.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Max and Josh and all these guys, like I wasn't, I don't know if I'm at their level quite yet. One day I would hope to be, but I just, my goal is always to get as close to those guys as I can without making a fool of myself, I guess.
But you're a PCC grandmaster as well.
Yeah.
So you can't do the whole let's win masterclass or something.
Okay, time out though. So like this is a problem. This is a problem I have with people. Like just because the letters next to your name might say GM or might say A or M, or I don't really think that matters, because there's a lot of people that get classified based on classifiers, not necessarily match bumps. And sometimes people get really nervous when it comes to classifiers, and an A-class PCC shooter doesn't necessarily mean he can't shoot a match. I give everybody, I don't care what the letters next to your name are, I give everybody the same respect and the same, anybody can have a great day.
No, I'm just saying in terms of winning some other class or some other division, you can't do that.
No,
so
no.
The way I see it is, the way I understand it is, as a GM PCC shooter, if you shot a handgun, you'd be GM immediately, wouldn't it?
I'd be a master. So you drop one level.
Master.
So if I wanted to shoot limited at nationals, I'd be a master limited shooter, which I don't necessarily understand.
Yeah, so that happened. that happened in IPSC here. So I never shot a production match, and I'm immediately A class because I'm A class in standard. So I couldn't win C class either. So couldn't even get that easy gold medal.
The C class would. Yeah, I don't know. So when I made GM, it was funny because I was striving to make GM with PCC since I started, and as soon as I did, the match director that I did it at the match, he's like, "Well, have fun competing against the pros." And it was like, I never really thought about it that way up until you just said that. Like now, when you get to that level, like the only way that you're going to get a trophy or win is if you beat the best in the country, or the best at the match that's there. And, yeah.
And shouldn't that be the goal anyway?
It should be the goal, and I agree with that.
The goal.
Yeah, and that's for something that I do see some people, and not necessarily in PCC only, but I do see some people, like personally I've seen. I'm not going to drop any names, but I have seen people purposely throw classifiers in order to stay in their class before a big match because they don't want to move up. And I'm like, well, to me, wouldn't you want to be the worst GM rather than the best M? To me, that's, I don't know, like you're just moving yourself up, and even though if you don't feel like you can compete with the next level, like if you make it, I feel like that you should be kind of proud of that accomplishment, but. I don't what do you think, Grant? I mean, would you sandbag any classifiers to stay in a lower class?
No, I'm too competitive to do that. I'm going to shoot the match as competitively as possible. I'm not going to. I get out a calculator how to win the stage, not a calculator on how to throw it just enough so I can stay behind.
All right. Speaking of calculating stages to stay ahead, do you look at your scores during the match?
Okay, so I didn't look at my scores, and then when I arrived there on day 3, so we recently shot the Africa Area Championships with it, which is an IPSC level 4 match. So to put in perspective, the nationals is level 3, the world shoot is level 5. So it's up there. It's one of the biggest matches on the African continent. So I recently changed to production 2 weeks before the match, which everyone said that was madness and stupid and shouldn't have done it, but it's fine, whatever. So to basically not throw myself, I needed to shoot consistently because it was a new gun. And if I had looked at scores, I would have tried to rush up to the guys who posted the top times. And I probably would have, with a new gun, thrown mics, thrown no shoots, and it wouldn't have looked pretty. So no, I didn't look at scores. And then on the third day, I rock up there and I was like, oh, someone comes up to me, it's like, oh, I see you're top. Like, no. Just back off. I don't want to listen to scores. But I think going forward with the level of production shooters, I'm gonna have to. I need to see where they are, because so the way it worked is you had 3 areas, A, B, and C, and because of the squad I was in, I shot B, C, A, and the super squad shot A, B, C. So they shot their day 3, area C was my day 2. And they really pushed on that day. And I didn't see them pushing or anything. So I was pretty good on the first day. And then I could have, if I'd seen that, I could have pushed to make up for that. But I didn't look at the scores, so I didn't. So
do you regret that? Do you regret that, or are you happy that you just focused on your shooting?
I don't regret how I shot that match, because the only way I was going to do well was to shoot a consistent match, stay behind there, and then if one of them had a big issue or 0 to stage, then I'd be able to climb up and take the match. I did go into the match saying, okay, I want top 5 with all things considered, and I did get 5th, but then that means is I came last in my own expectations, and I didn't want that
see,
either.
I think you're 100% wrong there. I think you're 100. I think if you said that you wanted to get a top 5 and you got a 5, you should be happy with that performance, right? You didn't say that you wanted first place and you got 5th. You said you wanted 5th place at least, and you got 5th place. I would say that you met your expectations for shooting a new gun 2 weeks before the match. I'd say that you did pretty good. You know, if I was you, I'd be pretty happy with that. I'd gladly trade places with you on my 5th or my 39th and your 5th if you would like. But yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is. So, Keita, so what do you think about that? So do you think that looking at scores is something that's helpful during a match?
I think it depends on the person. Some people just need to shoot how they shoot. If you're one of the top guys, you're in it to win it. You're probably going to have to look at scores just to do a sort of risk assessment, decide how you're going to continue through the match and attack it. Are you going to take more risks because you're lagging behind, or are you going to be more conservative because you're way ahead? I think it is important to keep track of the scores. However, in Grant's situation, just switching platforms, not having access to the gun to train with, I think it was really mitigating risk by just shooting consistently and not looking at scores. If that makes sense to me.
And what do you think about live scoring now? So I feel like live scoring is a relatively new thing here in the States, right? So like, does that people, I guess, like if you were going to look at scores previously to live scoring, it would be like you'd have to look at what somebody did from the day before after they posted for the match. But now with the advent of live scoring, you know, you can literally see stage by stage what people are doing. And like, I feel like that's, you know,
right.
I feel like that's great. I love looking at scores because I feel like it, you know, if you can do the math and do the calculations, you can kind of see like if you need to push it or if you need to kind of settle out or like in Virginia State, I had known going into my last stage that I could have had 3 mics and a no shoot, and I still would have taken second. So like there was no pressure going into that, but there was also no way I was going to take first. But so like looking at scores could be a good thing. And I know, but I do know a lot of people that say I don't look at scores because it gets them really nervous. And for me, like look,
it's
like,
individualized.
Yeah, but like looking at scores, like I have you like shooting PCC especially, and not necessarily anymore because people have figured it out. But people used to miss your times a lot, or they would turn the sensitivity up on the timers a lot, and they would catch shots from the other bay. So part of the reason I look at scores is just to see generally what all, like I know I'm one of the faster people, so I generally look at all of the top times and say, okay, everyone's running around 14, 15 seconds, you know, so that way at the end of it, if the guy says, oh, you know, 22.71, like, whoa, like something's not right here. So I feel like looking at scores, you can kind of save yourself from situations. And if you're not, I find it interesting that people get nervous looking at other people's scores. Like, oh my God, now I'm first. I'm almost first. I got to like keep it going. Like just, you got to shoot your match. And maybe that comes with some experience or something, but.
Yeah, it's compartmentalization. It's very difficult to do. So you have another thing that's difficult is if you know you really have to push, how much do you push by? And that takes a lot of experience to figure out, or how much do I dial it back by without it being too much?
So you got to ride the line, you know, you got to flirt with that
right.
line of being too heavy and not enough. So yeah, that's interesting.
So when you're done with your match, the first thing you're going to do is look at the scores. So what are you guys looking for in analyzing your match performance when you look at scores?
Grant.
Did I win?
First, did I win? Second, what place did I actually get?
Yes, that's exactly it. So what what I would usually do is when I fired the last round on the last stage and upload my scores, then I'd actually take the phone out with practice score or whatever it was, and then actually look at the scores and see, okay, well, where am I sitting? Because on towards the end of day 3, it's like I really want to look at scores and I really want to know what's happening. So that's basically what I do. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, who's the top guys, who's there, and where am I going to place? And judging by this last stage or the last couple stages, what is that going to look like? So that's basically what my routine was up until this point. I'm assuming, Mike, you look at the scores after every stage, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I do. But at the end of the match, I'm looking at scores to see like what was my raw times compared to the top guys. I want to see if I'm moving around the stage because usually it has something to do with your stage planning. So if your time is completely different from them, they probably ran a different plan than you. So if your times are pretty similar, then I feel like my planning was good. So I can take that. Then obviously you're looking at hits. You want to, you know, for me, I have a lot of alphas and I have a lot of Charlies, I should say, and then too many deltas. But I'd like to get my alpha count up a little bit. But then, comparing times and then comparing like what the hits were on certain stages, I know how it personally felt to me when I shot the stage, but like I just to see what everybody else was doing, and like, especially this year at PCC Nationals, I had a lot of mics. I had like one mic per stage almost, and it's amazing what that did to my hit factors to drop that down so much that I wasn't even in the top 10. But I mean, if there was a stage that I had that was with no mics, I mean, I was right up there. So I kind of, you analyze stuff like that to say, like, I think I need to back it off a little bit. And again, I have a hard time telling myself I need to slow down, but like something that I need to do.
You don't need to back off the speed. You just need to see more, see sooner. See
it sooner. Yeah. Well, yeah. And a lot of that I think has to do with my PCC positioning, which I may have fixed. I watched a YouTube video on that, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking at scores just to analyze like what I'm doing and compare myself to everybody else, and just seeing like, generally what they're doing, what my percent of points are at the end of the day, and I'm finding that this year my points have been kind of down. I'm in the 80s a lot this year, and a lot of the guys that are winning are in the 90s. And I would, maybe I would like to see if I can figure out how to get some more alphas, but I'm never looking at scores to be like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy beat me, or anything like that. I just, I want to just see how everybody else is doing it and what I can do to potentially get to what they did, or make a game plan essentially to figure out what I need to do for the next match, or like coming into it, so like if this match, this happened and I didn't like the way that was done on my score, like what can I do on the next one, so.
Yeah, so what I did also a couple days, there was a couple days, so I wasn't in the super squad in production, so I kind of just had to, I waited for everyone who was in the super squad to post videos of their stage runs. Now, obviously no one posts the full 24 stage match, but they posted enough. I sat down, I watched their videos, compared them to mine, and I went through the match book and compared the stage design, the stage layout, and the scores to basically see kind of where I went wrong, where my stage planning was the problem, and where my actual shooting was the problem, why my shooting was too slow. Or I ended up basically being way too accurate. New guy, and I was over confirming sights quite a lot, and I had stages where I'd won Charlie, but because I over confirmed my sights so much on that stage, I was 4 seconds behind them. Right. They threw Charlies and deltas, and obviously points divided by time hit factor, they took me by like a couple % on stages like that. So my plan forward is to basically fall off the wagon on the other end, find out where that line is.
Get a little wild, go a little crazy fast.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go full mic on some of the stages.
There you go. It's fun. I promise you it's fun.
No, because everyone's going to look at like, okay, well, clearly this is not working for Grant because he's got like 5 mics on the stage. It's like, no, I want to completely find out where the failure point is and then be able to dial it back from there, because I have 5 weeks until the Nationals here, and I want to do well in that.
Yeah. Hey, so something you said interesting in the beginning, that you said you see some people post videos online. Do you ever post videos online of like, if you're shooting on like a Saturday and then other people have to come in on a Sunday, do you post your match?
No, because they can figure out their own stage.
Right. I agree. And I appreciate it. I appreciate all the people that do that, like yeah, it is nice to see that.
Especially with activator sequences.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I would not be doing that as a competitor. I would not post my videos until the match was over, but
I posted one of the videos, it was a 1 shot per target video where you couldn't actually do anything. I posted that one during the match just because I had a whole lot of fun on that. So that was kind of the thing. And I'm kind of like, I'm there, guys, come challenge, come chase me. Like, come chase me, Super Squad, because they were shooting that on the last day. But other than that, no, you figure out your own stage plan once you can watch my video later, and that's how you do this.
I agree with that.
All right. So when you're analyzing scores after the match to see how you did, typically a good rule of thumb is you want to shoot 90 to 95% of available points. Now that doesn't mean 90 to 95% alphas. It's available points. So if it's 100-point stage, so 10 paper targets, you shoot 15 alphas, that means you can have 5 Charlies and you're still hitting your 90%.
So you're talking about, so you're not talking about percentage as far as like what the top guy did and you want to be within 10% of that. You're talking about
of available points. So there are 100, well, let's say in Nationals, there are 2,000 points available. You want to be shooting.
If you win every stage, that's what Keita's referring to.
You'd want to be shooting 90 to 95% of the available points. So if there are 2,000 available points, let's see, that would be 1,800 points to be at 90% of available points.
That's a lot of alphas. And like Grant was saying before, like I feel like if you're going to hit all the alphas slow, then it doesn't do anything for you at the end of the day, because it is points divided by time. And sometimes that's where I go back to like sort of match strategy. Like under 12 seconds to me, every second under 12 on a 12-second stage is 8%, just, for your overall score. So I agree with you on the bigger stages, but sometimes I feel like I could almost take all Charlies and do it half as fast, or do it half.
This is over the course of the entire match.
Yeah.
So this isn't.
When you start, it's also a good strategy to go into, because when you start throwing too many Charlies, too many deltas, then that 95% does not become attainable at all, and then you start dipping lower behind the guys who are shooting that and are shooting it quickly. And also, if you're going for alphas and you're going for them quickly, you're probably going to throw a Charlie or two on the road towards that, but it starts making that close Charlie just that alpha that you needed, type of thing. So you need to go for that goal.
Well, if you're not dropping any points at all, if you're shooting 100% alphas, you're going to be too slow, obviously. Yeah. So you have to allow yourself, accept that you don't have to hit all alphas to win. As long as you want to be looking at points per second. And what I'm talking about is over the course of an entire match. I'm not talking about just one stage. And every match is going to have a little bit of a different mix. So it might be more points heavy, it might be more speed heavy. But the average points per second over an entire match, if you win it, is about 8.5 points per second.
Yeah. And what do you mean by when you mean points per second for the viewers? What is that? What are we talking about?
That's your hit factor.
Hit factor. Yeah. So the entire point of what we get scored on, hit factor, points divided by time. Right. So that's, yeah. And I don't know, like, again, I feel like if you see, to me, when you say that though, now your match strategy is coming in there for all alphas, or you're trying to hit a lot of alphas, or 90% of them at least. And I feel like that could potentially slow you down. That's why I take it on a stage per stage basis. That's what we were talking about in the last, me and you were kind of debating back and forth, Grant, in the last podcast, where you say you like to be consistent throughout. And I kind of like to change up my gears a little bit and say, like, I'm going to get my hits here, go for my speed. So I'm not talking
about while you're shooting the match. I'm talking about analyzing your performance after the match.
Oh, well, once I'm done shooting, My points are what they are. So I know you say I should shoot for all that. And I always try to hit all alphas as fast as I possibly can.
It tells you where you're at with your consistency. So yeah. if let's say you got 5th place and you weren't very happy with that, and you shot 95% of the available points, then maybe you could have pushed the speed a little bit more and allowed yourself that extra 5% or so.
Yeah. I don't know. Like you shoot limited though, Keita, right? So you shoot major. So I feel like
I have.
Yeah. I mean, like if I could have PCC major, I feel like, I'd be hit 90% all the time. I mean, Alpha Charlie's 90, that's great. So, but Alpha Charlie for a minor gun is 80 points or 8 points. So it's like, it's definitely different between minor and major.
But everyone's shooting minor though.
Well, yeah, PCC and CO.
So everyone's in the same boat. It's not like like standard or limited where, if you're shooting minor against major guys, then yes, you're probably a little bit behind the curve.
Yeah, so maybe that's another area that you can analyze, Keita. Like you don't necessarily want to compare yourself to a different, the different power factor. Like if you're shooting minor, you don't really want to compare yourself to the major guys or anything like that.
That's why when production is just, if I'm going to shoot minor, I'm going to shoot in the minor division. I'm not going to try and race against guys shooting major.
Right. So you're trying to focus on your own match.
Yeah. So a big thing about analyzing the scores after the match is looking for what is happening consistently, which is why I said you're looking at it over the course of the entire match, not necessarily just one stage. But what did you do consistently? Did you do something consistently really well?
I missed consistently. It was really good. Yeah, I gotta get the mic off of my shirt. I got mic on the front of my shirt. I feel like that's just bad juju for me.
You're not looking for some fluky thing like you bombed one stage because some weird thing happened. Maybe your sights fell off your gun or whatever. Or you also don't want to be looking at that one stage that you did really awesome, but your performance was so different from all the other stages. You want to be looking at what you did consistently, good or bad.
Now that's a good question I have for you. Like, what should you want to look at? So you're looking at the majority. So I feel like a lot of people focus on like, the 2 stages that they did that were well, and then they don't really look at the 10 that were bad. And maybe that's kind of why they're staying where they are. And maybe if you just don't, if the ones you do well, I mean, you should go there expecting to do well, right? So if you do well on a stage, you shouldn't really get too high on it. I feel like you should be more hard on yourself on the bad ones. Is that what you're trying to say?
It needs to be basically you're looking at outliers, right? Take those outliers, throw them out, and look at the median.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with my match and how consistently I shot it. I mean, looking at the scores, it was lose 10 points to the winner on this stage. Next stage, gain 10 points, lose 5, gain 10, lose 5, lose 10, gain. And then it was on the day 3 when they pushed and I lost. I had stages where the outlier kind of was on the one stage where I shot where I kind of threw a mic no shoot. So that's fine, but the majority of my points, it was 110 points lost on day 3 when they pushed, and I'd already shot that day, and I obviously didn't. So that was basically where the match got lost. So that's kind of what I was analyzing in that. Other than that, I basically stayed within. I mean, I didn't win a single stage. I'm also kind of bummed about that. I wanted a stage win medal.
Oh, you don't have to. You see, that's the thing though. To win the match, you don't have to win every stage. You just have to be really good at every stage.
Yes,
Right.
but also being 5th on every stage didn't help either.
If I was 5th on every
Clearly,
stage,
there's a balance there somewhere.
I'd probably be in 1st. So I guess again, that goes back to what Keita said about South Africa and the America. But like, I mean, if I took 5th at PCC Nats on every stage, I feel like I would have been way up there. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends on the length of the match. If you have 24 stages, you can't, I don't know. Consistency matters more, I guess. But if there's a 12-stage match, maybe trying to take some more home runs. Like, what do you think about that, Keita? Like, because like Nationals was 18 stages this year for me. Next year, they're thinking about it being 24 versus like you go to a regular level 2 and it's 12 or 11 or 10. So like, what would be your...
The 3-day match here, most guys had like mediocre 2 days. And then on the 3rd day, everyone kind of put it into like 5th gear and really went for it. Everyone who won. So everyone pushed on the last day. So I think maybe there's something to do about that. Maybe there's.
And do you think they looked at their scores and that's when they decided they needed to push, or do you think that they just said, "I'm going to push because it's the last day and let's just go for broke here"?
I think the guys who looked at their scores started pushing, and to keep up, the guys who didn't look at their scores also kept pushing. So I think that's kind of what happened. And obviously they're all in the same squad, so they all kind of know what each one's doing. But one of the guys who won production optics, Dylan, he's taking Keita's class. He also looked at the scores and on day 3 decided, okay, well, I need to push. And he did. And he took the match quite handsomely. So I think there's something to push in on day 3, but this is like, we don't have a lot of 3-day matches here. This was the first one in quite a while, actually. So maybe there's something to it. I don't know, Keita, what do you think?
Yeah, Keita, I got a question for you on that too. So like, it's his 3rd day and he started pushing. So like, if I come out as a 3-day match and I come out my 3rd day and I'm pushing and I'm shooting really well, like, should I be down on myself that I didn't do that for the first 2 days, or like what should,
it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So the goal going in is consistency. You're not trying to go 0-0. You're just trying to finish as clean as you can.
But what about the first 2 days? Because what if you get to that 3rd day and you're crushing it and you're going fast? Now the first 2 days, you're like, I wish I did that the first 2. So you would say no. You would say you just come out, be consistent, and then if you have to push on the last day, push on the last day, or if you have to push towards the end of a match, push towards the end of the match. But at first, just kind of.
Well, you need to know from your practice how much you can get away with pushing before the wheels fall off, right? You need to know where your lines are for yourself, and that's really individualized. You need to know that before you go to a match, and how do you find that under pressure? So yes, you can push a little bit. It's going to depend if you've got the first stage jitters, because it's a 3-day match.
Hold on. Do you guys
That's all
not have
yours
first
and
stage
back
jitters?
off.
Do you not get first stage jitters, Keita? Do you not get first stage jitters?
Everyone
I get them every
everyone
time.
Gets first day.
I'm always a
Everyone
little
does.
nervous, you know, but I mean, as soon as that gun goes off, that's why, again, I wish we had like the IDPA bill drill for our first stage, because you could just get those first couple shots out of the way and everybody will be a little bit looser. But yeah. I always get those.
Well, you'll also recognize scenarios where you know you can push. You'll see something and say, oh, I'm really good at this. I know I can push on this. Or you'll see something where maybe it's a new challenge you've never done before. Oh, I better dial it back a little bit. Or maybe you're going from a speed, 2 stages on one bay. Maybe you're going from a speed course to a points course, and you're all amped up from the speed course, jumping directly into a points heavy course. And now you've got to dial it back a little bit and focus more on getting your hits. So it's kind of up and down the whole time, but it's based on your experience.
Yeah, I agree. But then, like, after a match, like, how long does it take you to get over something, Grant? If something bad doesn't go your way.
I don't know, how much whiskey is there? No, look, I'm really happy with the way I shot the new gun, and it's nice when my main sponsor was pretty happy with me, because the timeline was on a bar from firing like 200 rounds at a static range. So Wednesday, basically looked at the gun. Thursday, I shot the indoor match, was like 40 rounds. Saturday, I shot a level 2 league shoot, so 140 rounds. Tuesday, I got to collect the gun. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, dry fire. Wednesday, Thursday, I was shooting it on the range. And then Friday, I went and shot a major match with it. So the timeline was pretty compressed there. So I'm really happy with how I performed with the gun, considering that.
Yeah,
but
I feel like you did really well for getting a new gun and barely shooting it. I mean, I'd be pumped if I was you, especially since you switched divisions. It was a totally different gun.
It was completely from a 40 cal striker-fired Glock 35 to a DASA shooting minor Beretta. It was quite a fundamental shift.
I saw your gun. That Beretta definitely looks nice. It's a nice looking gun you got there, man.
Metal guns just look good on photos. So there's only one medal there, but the gun kind of steals the show. So at least no one notices. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with, especially on the last 2 stages. So everyone was coming up to me talking about how high I was in the match, even though I tried to distance myself from that. The jitters on the last 2 stages, like, you can't see it on the video, but like physically and internally, I'm shaking, and I'm really happy with how I was able to perform under that kind of pressure that I put myself under. And the last stage was actually really, really good. I got close to winning it. I didn't, but I got close. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. So I'm getting over it. And talking with other shooters and talking with my sponsors, and that has helped, and they've given me kudos, and let's go to the next one.
I could say the same thing about Da Vinci and the fact that they sponsored me. They've been super supportive. When we went to Aruba, I was extremely disappointed in myself that I feel like I let them down. And even when we went to nationals, I feel like I let them down. And Dave is he's a great guy, and he really is keeping my head up and keeping me focused and getting ready for next year, and just trying to keep me positive and moving up. So yeah,
as long as the sponsors are happy with me and where I am, that's fine. As long as I don't get but why didn't you win? Then that's not so.
Yeah, well, I don't know. What do you find with your sponsorship? Are they more about winning, or are they more about representing the sport and the company and yourself in a good manner? To me, that's what
representing the brand, representing Beretta, and the capabilities of the gun is probably more important at the moment.
The capability of the gun. So if you're representing the capability of the gun, they want you to win then. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, you took a 5th place, Grant, and you were going there for 5th. So I'd say that I think that you should be pumped about that. I think you did a great job.
I agree. Let's talk about the 5 things you can do to unfunk yourself. That's what this episode is about. So one thing I've seen a lot of the top shooters do in the US, at least, is when they're not happy with their finish, where most people would take a break after nationals for 2 weeks or something like that, they go to the range. They saw somebody else do something that challenged them, and they want to figure it out. So going to the range makes them feel like they're doing something about it, which they are. Another thing they can do is go to the gym. When you go to the gym, it also gives you that sense of, I'm doing something about this. Plus you get that endorphin rush kicking in, and if you're making yourself stronger, you're going to be a better competitor. If you're in better shape, you're going to have the endurance for a 3-day match. Look at what you did well so that you can do it again. So when you go back and do your video reviews, if you're in a funk, don't go through them looking for everything you messed up initially. Go through them and look at, what did I do well? How can I make that happen again?
Yeah, I notice, I don't know, I feel like I do, like I'm always looking for the things I messed up, but in there, when you watch a video, when I get my stage videos, I'll watch them 50 times, because like there's things that you won't catch until you see it the 30th time. Like, oh, look at my foot position here. Like I didn't even see that until now. You know, I'm always looking for the bad stuff I'm doing, but in that you do find stuff that's like, wow, I really like the way that I came around this corner. I really like the way that I did this. So like, you got to take the positives, but I think that you really, you know, when you analyze your stage videos, you got to write down stuff that you need to work on. And that's why when Keita says they go to the range, that's in order to, you know, they're mad at themselves that they let it happen in the first place. And so like, they're going to go work it out so it doesn't happen again. And that's how you consistently get better. So yeah, I don't know. The good things are only so good if you win. If you're winning, then I look at all the good things that I did and I'm okay, look at all this. This was all good. But like if I lost, and obviously I didn't do enough because somebody else had a good day and they beat me, and obviously I need to go work on some stuff. So that's, yeah.
When you're looking for the things you didn't like, again, you're looking for consistency. What do you see happening on every single stage or close to it that you can work on to be better and make a plan for it? You're not looking at it to bash yourself. You're looking at it to make a plan. I flog myself. Yeah, that's the problem. And that's why you also need to give yourself credit for what you did well and replicate those things.
Yeah.
And then acknowledging your worthy adversary is the last thing I would say. So you're not competing against a bunch of little babies with squirt guns. You are competing against reputable shooters who are competent, and you need to give credit where credit's due. Somebody else had a better day than you. If you say, I let myself down, or I was competing against myself and failed, then you're taking away from that person's win. And if you're taking away from their win, then you're saying they're not a worthy adversary for you.
What do you think, Grant?
No, everyone in production's pretty much, they're up there. They're not going to be a walkover. Going to have to really work at trying to beat those guys. So yeah, I sat there, just basically didn't look at everything I did wrong. I did look at the few things that I did right. Definitely what was on my mind was, where does the skill with the gun stop and my skill as a shooter start type thing? Where's that line there? Where's the familiarity with the gun that I'm lacking that cost me basically on this stage? So that's basically what I was really looking for, and it was there, but it's not as big as probably I thought it would be.
Yeah, I don't know. I could say like, as a competitor, it's always hard that first day to give anybody credit, because you like Grant said, you like to win, right? But like, as you get over the fact that you didn't perform the way you wanted to, it's all your fault, right? You can't take away from the guy that actually did win and prepared and got there. And
no, the guy that won, Shane. So I've won a nationals. I won standard nationals. The guy that won has been shooting a lot longer than me and actually never won until this time. So you know what? He deserved this win, and I want everyone to feel that feeling.
How do you think
finally win?
How do you think he felt? How do you think he felt, since he was shooting that gun all the time and you won production nationals? How do you think he felt when you won? Do you think he was like, "Who the hell is this kid?" Or like, "What? Like, how does he beat me?" Or like, do you think that he was like, "This kid's a great shooter"?
Standard. He was always in production though.
All right, but like, do you think you're like, he deserved it, or do you think other?
No, he did. He worked damn hard at it. So some of the 2-day matches, he was practicing the day before on the range, and then shooting the match on the Sunday. So he worked hard at it, and he deserved it. He really did. I would have liked to come second.
Right.
By 99% of them.
Well, because to me, you don't get lucky over an 18-stage match. You don't get lucky 18 stages in a row. So like, the guy's got to be doing something right, or the girl has to be doing something right. Right. So like, it's not something that you did terrible and that's the only reason that they won. I mean, you gotta kind of have a little bit of accountability there and say, okay, maybe I'm not as great as I thought I was, and I need to start working on some stuff here. And just make it help it to push you along further. And that's how the entire game keeps going up and up and up and up, right? I mean, like, you know, like I'm now pushing for a couple PCC guys that are around me that have been faster than me at the last couple of matches or have shot better than me at the last couple of matches. And that's what's going to, you know, I feel like break me out of where I'm at and get me to the next plateau. So as far as unfunking myself from that, I look at it as a learning opportunity, or, you know, to see what I need to do to get better, you know? So like
You need to fail to succeed.
right.
And
right.
it's not always going to be a bed of roses. It's going to be challenging. And if it wasn't, why would we do it?
Right. Exactly. It'd be boring.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that fun if it was very easy. Then
Right.
something's wrong. If you walk into a match not shooting a gun and you win it by 10%, then there's something wrong with your competitors. You need to move or something to get a
Maybe.
better.
I mean, you know, you got like Leah Grant. I mean, Leah Grant is a really, really good shooter. I wonder what he feels every time he goes in and dominates a match. Like, I don't know if he's, I can't imagine that's boring. It's got to be really awesome to go to every match you go to and just dominate, you know? like I feel like that's probably a great feeling.
But
and
if you
just confirmed
dominate
for him.
every single match, doesn't it? If you eventually do lose, someone eventually beats you, maybe the loss would be more devastating.
No, absolutely not. I feel like if you're used to winning and then you lose, it's going to be devastating in a way that's like, I'll never let that happen again. And it's going to push you to get better. Because like, if you're so used to winning and then all of a sudden out of the blue, you're losing now. It's like, wait a minute. What is going on? I would never be like, oh man, now all of a sudden I'm losing. Let me switch divisions. I'm just like, why am I not on top still? That would be the thing I'm asking myself, you know? I don't know.
Well, another thing with giving credit where credit is due is, you know, when something goes sideways during your match and someone comes up to you and you got 5th place where you won a different year, they come up to you and they say, hey, what happened? Most guys will not say anything. Have you seen this happen?
I do this, you know, some people ask me like, oh, what happened at that match? Like, no, I don't really have any excuses other than the fact that I just wasn't prepared enough. So there's nobody to blame but yourself, you know? So, I mean, it's not.
The problem is if you say, oh, I got shot in the ankle, then that takes away from the person who won.
That was legitimate though. That was definitely not.
I mean, it tore muscle. Okay.
Right. I mean, look, if you roll your ankle or you break your ankle or something in the middle of a match, I mean, yeah, that's a legitimate excuse. I mean, I feel like you need to complete a match, or, you know, like if you get DQ'd, I'd say that you're still in it. But like, as long as something like that doesn't happen where you're getting physically hurt, you know, like, then there's no excuse. Like, to me though, Keita, at that, with your scenario with your ankle, like, I mean, if you get seriously injured and you were crushing a match, like, you know, that is, as a competitor, that's always going to leave you wondering, like, well, what if I didn't get hurt? And I don't know if there's any way that you can ever get over that. But I mean, if you finish an 18-stage match and you got no injuries and you just didn't do well, I mean, there's really no excuses. It's just, you got to really.
Or even if you had something happen that was outside your control, you don't say that, because that
what?
takes away from the person who mitigated that risk in some way.
Like a hurricane on the day you shot and they shot in sunny weather, like that kind of thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be a good example. I mean, everyone's going to know it, but you're not going to make excuses and take away from their win.
Right.
Or equipment, like catastrophic equipment malfunctions that just happened in a match.
Exactly. Because honestly, that is your fault for not doing your proper match prep. So then you have to take ownership of that. And maybe they did their proper equipment checks and you didn't.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that happened to me at Nationals. I am definitely going to be making a pre-match checklist now on, and I will be going down the list and just saying, you know, this is tight, this is this, this is this, this is this, just so
Sharpie and mark everything.
Yeah.
Witness marks.
Just so something like that doesn't happen. And again, though, it has nothing to do, you know, it has, like, you know, Max got a great match, and but I'm mad at myself with that, and I won't ever let that happen again. So that's a learning experience for me. And that's where a couple of podcasts ago I said, when you go to majors, I feel like you always learn something, right? So like there, I learned a pretty big lesson that day, and it is what it is. I'm going to do better next time, you know?
And it's only going to happen in a match. My gun ran perfectly, and I'm really happy with that, because basically it was an untested gun. I had to leave it stock. I couldn't tune it with the recoil spring or anything, because I just didn't know if it was actually going to run reliably. So and then my ammo kind of power factored at 135, so it was pretty stout.
135.
So yeah,
I feel like that's right where you want to be, though. You don't want to be anywhere near that 125 number, because then everything is pointless if you're under.
126.1 is fine.
No way. No. So area 8, 2 or 3 years ago, I chronoed at 125.1, and I went home and I clicked my Dylan up because I'm like, that will never happen again. I was so scared. He shot the first bullet was low. Second one was right on. And it was like, oh God, here we go. Third one was just over. And I was like, dang, so I just made it. And that was freaky for me. And I get the fact that, especially you with production. So you're shooting production now, right? So like, like I guess the lower the power factor really makes a difference on recoil. But if you're shooting a gun with a brake on it, like a PCC, or you got an open gun that has a compensator, I feel like
it's probably not going to make that much of a difference. Yeah.
No, and you don't want to drive 10 hours to a match and then your ammo doesn't make power factor and then you're shooting for no score. So I feel like don't cut it that close, and if you're chronoing,
but I didn't have a lot of time to test any of this stuff, so I kind of just winged it and just happened to come out on the higher end of everything. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, it's definitely, I want to try a heavier bullet and all of that and tune the gun and that. So now I have time to do that. I think 147s is the way to go with this gun. So yeah, but now that's gonna be the plan going forward.
Yeah.
So did you guys make plans? What plans did you make to move forward from here?
I am going to be I'm going to be making a pre-match checklist just so I can make sure that I go through everything, because when going into nationals, I was so hyped up on everything going on, I didn't really think about some things. And so during the calm period now, when the match is over and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to make up a rational list of stuff that I need to do before a match, just to check over to make sure that everything is going to be where it needs to be for match day. And then so now then I feel like that'll take a lot of pressure off my head going into the next match. Like I'm not going to be worried about if anything like that is loose or anything. So that's the one thing that I learned there.
Yeah, and that'll give you peace of mind.
Yeah.
How about you, Grant?
Tune the gun, get it running, nice and smooth like butter. And then everyone's going to ask, I'm going to go to matches, and if I don't see a lot of mics, I'm not shooting the match how I want to shoot it. I want to fall off the wagon a little bit, go to that far end and see where the end game lies. So I can kind of find the other side of that coin of, there's too many alphas or there's too many mics. Let's go find the middle thing, but I need to find the too many mic sides. So yeah, that's the plan going forward, and that's also my plan in practice. And then so I got 5 weeks. So in 2 weeks before the match, dial it back down and see if I can find that sweet spot of just right in the line. Yeah. It is also another kind of constrained, because now I said it was like 5 weeks. It's actually pretty constrained timeline, because most guys are in match mode for the whole month up into a major match.
Yeah.
I don't have that luxury, so it's going to have to be 2 weeks, and I'm going to go to the match, and I'm going to hopefully do well.
Well, when's your next major, Grant?
Set my goals higher.
When's your next major match?
It's nationals, handgun nationals.
When is that?
December 4th.
December 4th. Okay, so you're not too far away. So I actually just signed up for a major down in Florida, the Florida State Championships, and that is in January. So, over the next couple of months, I'm going to be trying to get my stuff together and keep shooting my gun and keep just trying to generally improve. I mean, even the stuff that you're good at, you can always get better at the stuff that you're good at. So, kind of like,
but I don't want to waste too much time and ammo on the stuff that I'm good at, because then I want to find the stuff that I'm not good at and train that.
That's valid. But if you had unlimited ammo, you'd practice everything still, right? So I mean, you really want to focus on the stuff you're bad at.
You don't have unlimited time though. That's the thing. You can have unlimited ammo. You don't have unlimited time. So
that's true.
So I think for Grant,
you need the opposite of what I'm doing. You need to find the too many alphas line, maybe.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. Honestly, I was thinking about let me see if I can go to a match and try to just shoot all alphas, regardless of how long it's going to take me to do it. I can't. Maybe that's
because you're excited about the new technique.
Yeah. I really am. Honestly, the problem with that new technique is it's for staying accurate at speed. So now I'm not going to be slowing down trying to shoot alphas. I'm going to be trying to hammer the trigger to see if the dot stays planted. So yeah, it's I'm looking forward to using that. But yeah, I'm gonna everything I can do over the next couple months before my next major in order to just raise my entire game. Wherever I think I'm a little weak, I think I'm a little weak on my left side, on my weak side shoulder. So I'm going to try to practice that.
Because your shoulder is a mess.
Yeah. Well, you saw that. You're an RN, so. But you know, like just I feel like I could be faster there, and I definitely want to work. I would definitely want to work on my left shoulder technique a little bit more. So so they can, you know, all the MDs out there that are trying to get PCCs with some hard left leans, you know, I'm going to try to just throw those right in their face with some good left shoulder shots. So
what advice would you guys give to anyone who shot a match and feels like they legitimately failed themselves, that they're questioning their abilities, they're thinking about quitting? What would you tell that person?
I mean, before I tell you what I would tell that person, so this is where you just got to be a nice person, because you never know where somebody's in their headspace. So there was this one guy that we were shooting with. I'm not going to name names, but I just went up to him, and he was shooting a match, and I'm like, dude, you're doing really great. Like, you know, like the last time I saw you shoot, you're doing much better today than you were yesterday. And he came up to me after the match, and he's like, you know, like, before you said that, like, he's like, I've been really down on myself lately on all these matches, and I've been, you know, thinking about quitting, and you said that, and it kind of like gave me a little bit of fire again to keep it, you know, keep myself up and keep myself in the game. But I mean, like anybody generally that is really, really down on themselves, again, it's just a 1 day match. And, you know, people get too into their ego about, oh my God, everybody's going to look at me differently because of where I finished in this match. And it's only 1 day. I mean, everybody has an off day. Just, you might've woken up on the wrong side. Your neck might hurt. Like, I mean, you never know. So like, it doesn't mean because you had one bad match that life is over, and there's always going to be another match. That's the best part about this game, right? And there's always another chance to prove yourself. And so like, you got to kind of just keep your head up and keep pressing forward, and just be honest with yourself about what you're not doing right, and see if you can work on it. And if, you know, and if you're not going to and what I would tell people is, if you're not going to go work on the stuff you're bad at, then you can't expect to get better. So then you should stop holding yourself to such a high standard. But if you truly want to compete in this game and you want to get better, then you need to kind of analyze what you're doing and just say it is what it is, and it's part of the learning process, and you're going to come out at the next one, and you're going to do much better at whatever you did bad at this match. So that's the advice I would give.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a case of you're going to learn more from your failures than your successes. So yeah. It's good to fail. It fell upwards. Kita says that. I'm stealing that from her. So yeah.
I heard it somewhere. I don't remember where.
Don't drive headfirst into the truck on the way home, because it's just one match. As long as everyone doesn't lambaste you and think that you're supposed to dominate every match, which I don't think anyone would.
Except the few in the country, you know, the few in this country that probably feel that way. But yeah.
You're
definitely gonna fail more than you win. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
just keep it up, keep working at it, and find out what you're bad at, and get back to the range. There's no
I think I wrote an article On Target magazine in South Africa.
Yeah.
I wrote an article that said, don't quit, take a break. So if you're feeling like it's just too overwhelming, one loss after another, and why am I even doing this? Take a break. Just put the gun away, give yourself 2 weeks, go do something not shooting related. And when you start feeling that feeling of, I kind of want to pick up my gun again, then go and do it. Otherwise, you're just self-defeating.
Yeah, I guess.
That
goes back to where yeah, exactly. That goes back to where the pros are going on the range after a bad match, and you're going to go, like I would go play golf or something like that. But yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. If you're at the point where you're feeling like, you know, you're traveling around and you're spending all this money and you're not getting the results that you want to finish the way you want, and you feel like it's not fun to you anymore, then maybe I guess maybe you need an extended break, not just a 2-week break, but maybe like take a year off, you know, and come back to it. Because if you're truly hating your life, I mean, the entire point we all got into this game is that it's super fun and you should be out there enjoying yourself. So if you're not enjoying yourself anymore and you've lost the sense of direction of this is supposed to be fun, then
exactly.
Maybe
I think it's also a case of how you feel. If you feel like absolutely defeated and you can't think of anything else, then okay, I'll take a break. But this is lit such a fire under me that I want to be on the range almost every day.
Well, honestly, another thing that keeps me coming back to matches, even if I'm not doing well, it's all the people. Like, I love seeing everybody from all over the place. So like, you know, even if I'm not shooting well, like I get to go see my buddies from Ohio, my buddies from over here, my buddies from over here. Like, you know, it's you know, if you're so into yourself about your match score and all that kind of stuff, I think you're missing the point of it. You know, I mean, it is a game. There's only a number of people that you can probably count on two hands that get paid to do this, right? We all don't get paid to do this. It's supposed to be fun. So yeah, if you're not having fun anymore, then maybe you need to reanalyze the way you're looking at it and or take a break. I agree.
Yeah, and it is cliche, but after you've devastated yourself, you can tell yourself it's just a game.
Right. Now I went down to
It is,
nationals, and
it's just a game.
I'm not happy with my performance at all at nationals, but like I cannot wait to shoot my next major. I'm so pumped.
Right.
Like, I'm shooting on Tuesday at a local. Like I can't wait to shoot on Tuesday at a local. I don't care. Like I just love shooting, you know. So like for me, the finish is what it is, and you always want to win. But I'm you know, it's more than winning sometimes, you know. So
yeah, it's a competition, and you can't, that feeling of everyone's watching you on the last stage of the last match, or the last day of the 3-day match. You can't get that anywhere else. You just can't.
Yeah. Don't care if they're watching me, you know, don't care how I'm doing.
No,
don't care. All I care is about how I feel about myself. You know, I don't care. I don't care what other people think about me.
That excitement, that pent up energy of shooting the last match of the last day when everyone is watching you. You got someone recording you. You don't. I've never experienced that. I've been to the World Kendo Cup and that. I've never experienced it elsewhere. So this is definitely unique.
That's why I like shooting though, because when you're about to shoot a stage, if you got 1 million people behind you watching you, you're only facing you and the target facing forward. So like once you lock into that make ready, you should not. Everything else should just be cleared out. It's any other stage you've ever shot in your life, right? So like I can't see those people behind me when I'm running around. So they don't bother me at all. Yeah, like to me, I'm that's very easy for me to block out. Like if there's anybody like, oh hey, you know, we'll watch you shoot the stage, like whatever. Because like once the guy says make ready, I'm facing that way. I can't see any of you. So like I just kind of, you know, just kind of do my thing. So yeah, you shouldn't be nervous about that either. You know, and the only reason people are watching you is because you're doing something right. So if you're having a bad match and people are over there still watching what you're doing, I mean, that should give you a little bit of self-confidence to say like, obviously I'm doing something right. People are over here trying to video me about what I'm doing, and I might not be having a great day, but it's you know, overall, like my shooting ability is still pretty high. So you know, even though this match doesn't necessarily dictate that, I'm not, you know, and I'm over it. I'm ready to shoot the next one. You know, even if you win a match, yeah.
If any of our listeners have had a tough pill to swallow, you can always email me to 180firearmstraining@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much. This was a great show. I think it's going to help a lot of people get through this, knowing that they're not the only ones going through this.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Hey, thanks guys. It was nice talking to you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Like and subscribe.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Thank you.